Alright, so I got my carburetors off my CB750 single overhead cam. These are what's known as round tops. These carburetors came on CB750 from 1969 to 1976. And they're the most simple carburetors you will ever work on, and they're a pleasure to work on, really, because they don't have a whole lot going on. They don't have any vacuum operated stuff. They're 100% mechanically operated, you can see. Now if you just take these off the bike and they still have gas in them, you can tip them upside down and gas will come out, or you can just take your float bowls off, you know, and pour the gas out that way. You can see I got these all drained out. There's no gas left in there, completely dry. So, and I left my fuel lines on here. I took them off up here. This is kind of custom. This isn't stock. So the first thing to do here with these carburetors, we're going to remove the float bowls. Now these are pretty easy. They just have these clips that just come right up, pop them off, and then your float bowl comes off. So now the gasket, look out for the gasket that's on these float bowls. This one happened to stay in place. Sometimes they come out with it, sometimes they don't. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all these. That gasket stayed in there. I might need a screwdriver for this one. This one seems to be a little prying action on there. I probably wouldn't do this if these weren't my carburetors. I don't want to scuff up anyone's aluminum, but they are mine. Alright, now see that this one here, the gasket fell off. Just set that aside and put that right back in there. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to essentially disassemble the bottom end of this carburetor here. Like I said, this is a very simple carburetor. Here you got your main jet. This is your idle jet, also called the pilot jet. And this is your float. And then there's a little float valve down here. You see it pushes on. So I'm just going to disassemble this one right here. And then I'll do all of them. So here I'm going to pull out the main jet. These key in main jets just unscrew very simply like that with a flathead. Very rarely will these be clogged up. In extreme cases, you want to be able to see through there. Here's your pilot jet. This is also comes out with a flathead. Now on all carburetors are different. Some of these are pressed in, so it can get funky. There's your idle jet. I'm going to pull the float off so we can get to the float valve. There's a pin down here that holds this in that slides out. Get some pliers on it. So there's that pin came out. You don't have to take them all the way out. Sometimes you can leave them hang on the end there. Then there's your float. And here's your float valve. You see this little guy right here? So this is what the float valve looks like. It's just a little needle, and there's a seat in there, and when gas fills up the carburetor, this pushes it up. Well, this is just a little spring. It doesn't really have anything to do with much. It just provides a little resistance, but then it pushes this float valve up and seals it off so no more gas can come into the float bowl. And when this gets gummed up or something, it won't work right, or it'll stick. So your carburetor will overflow with gas and it'll come out the drain tube. That was actually my problem. And then here's your idle jet. Try to get that in focus there. You can see most of these idle pilot jets, they have little holes and perforations. That's going to be your number one culprit of getting clogged up. These tiny little perforations down here, those are always clogged up. If you got any problems at all, that's going to be your main thing. I'm going to clean those out. And of course you got your main jet. I don't know if you can see through there. There's a little opening, that's it. That's about all there is to it. Yeah, you can see that opening. It's very rare that these will get completely clogged up, but in extreme cases, like when I got these carburetors, the main jets were clogged up. You can see how the varnish that actually dries from the ethanol, it like leaves a coating of varnish all on the inside of your stuff. It's nasty. Now, one of the first things you can do to make sure everything's clear and make sure your carbs are able to fill up with gas. See, I got my fuel lines on here still. The fuel fills up through these, the biggest guys, where your float valve goes into here. That's where the fuel actually comes in the carburetor. And I can just kind of blow through here and make sure that's clear. Alright, so it's coming through both of these here. This is for the right side. Alright, so I know that gas is coming in through there. Let me do the other side here. Make sure this one's all good. Alright, seems like we have gas coming into the carburetors. Nice and clear. Here, I got all my stuff set aside. Here's my float valves, my main jets, and my pilot idle jets here. And of course, that's basically everything there is to these carburetors that you'll need to clean. You can go ahead and squirt some carb cleaner through all this stuff. And honestly, you can lube up your slides. See here. If your slides are sticky, you ain't even really got to disassemble it from the top. You can really just squirt a little bit of WD-40 in here or something on the slides and get a little bit of lubrication on these bad boys. It'll make them go a little smoother. You know, and a carb sync is a whole nother video. If you're doing that, if you're getting into carb syncing, or if you need to raise up the needle because you put a different intake on or a different exhaust, what you would need to do then is actually raise the needle up inside of this slide here. And the way you do that is disassemble the carb with these bolts here, and then you take the round top off and pull out the slide, and there'll be a little clip on your needle that you can raise it up with. Alright, so I got my carb cleaner here and got my idle jets. I'm just going to squirt some through it and make sure they're all clear. I'm going to just take it and squirt it through here. You can see through all these little holes, perforations in the idle jet, that they're clear. These weren't really bad in the first place, but it's better safe than sorry. It would be a wise idea to wear gloves when you're spraying this carb cleaner. So one thing I want to make sure you don't miss when you clean your carbs, see these little screws here? There, and on this side, there and there. These are either your idle air screws or your fuel mixture screws. And in this case, these are your air mixture screws. So if you turn these out, it'll let more air in. Turn them in, it'll let less air in, just for the idle circuit only. So you want to squirt some carb cleaner through that hole, that hole, that hole, and that hole. Now these other holes, see that they just make all these carb castings, and they put two of them in there, but they only use one on whatever side the carb housing is. So this other one just doesn't do anything. You see they're like plugged up. So squirt carb cleaner through there. And that's about it on these carbs. And you know, I squirted carb cleaner into the float needle seat because that was my main problem. That was why I had to take these apart in the first place this spring, because there was leaking gas. One of these floats weren't shutting off, so I made sure to try to clean those seats out. And these carbs are really simple. Otherwise, there's not much going on these things. Squirt carb cleaner wherever you can. I got some, you know, I just took and squirted all over and try to clean them out a little bit, any residue. And when you squirt that carb cleaner, make sure you take all your gaskets out, your carb bowl gaskets, because that stuff does not go good with rubber. It will eat rubber, eat right through rubber. Now these carbs, is safe to pretty much carb clean the whole thing because they don't have diaphragms. More modern carburetors with diaphragms up the top, you would really want to take those out before you start spraying carb cleaner inside, because you don't want carb cleaner get up there inside the diaphragms. But that's not relevant to these CB750 carbs. And you know, I'll make another video about more modern carburetors, Mikunis, like a set of like 1980 plus Mikunis, where there's all kinds of little pathways and stuff that you need to clear out. Like the more modern carburetors have so much more going on than these do. One more tip that could potentially help you out. When I started just kind of spraying these down with carb cleaner, I noticed that when I moved it, these slides got really gritty. So I think what happened is I just kind of pushed some dirt inside of here, and these got really gritty. So what I did was I went back outside with the carb cleaner and squirted each side of these slides from each side and got stuff out of there. Then I raised them up. Oops. And then I raised them up all the way and then squirted it out again, cleaned it out again, and now they're pretty smooth again. So if that happens to you, go and just try to clean them out. So with the carbs upside down, you can see the float heights. I don't believe you're actually supposed to measure it this way, but you can still tell. They're pretty even. This one on the end here might be a little low compared to other ones. I know I set these last summer when I rebuilt the carburetor, so I'm really not going to mess with it, and unless I have any problems with it running funny. So